Hello everyone, welcome to Anime No Mi, and thank you for joining us for another One Piece video. Currently in our story of One Piece, there are multiple incredible events getting ready to take place. We've got powerful pirates that are being defeated, and the Great Battle of the Straw Hats against the Navy is approaching very quickly. With the arrival of the Navy in Egghead Island, the Straw Hats are going to be in grave danger, because we have Kizaru and Saturn on the ship. And these are two powerful characters that may be capable of facing very powerful enemies, including Yonko. So today's video, we're going to talk about our expectations for our upcoming chapter of 1082 of One Piece, what events might happen in this next chapter, and what the fate of the Straw Hats may end up being. But before we dive into the video, if you're new to the channel, or even if you've watched a bunch of our videos, we'd be absolutely honored if you'd leave us a like, and even subscribe, and maybe leave us a comment letting us know what you thought of the video. It really helps us out, especially with that old YouTube algorithm, and it keeps motivating us to make more content. And if you'd like to help out the channel in a bigger way, consider sharing this video or another one of your favorites with a friend. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So my friends, in these last several chapters, we've been following multiple different threads happening at once. For instance, the Navy is going to Egghead while Vegapunk and the Straw Hats are trying to leave, but are being prevented from fleeing because York has become a traitor in order to achieve their own goals. Meanwhile, on islands near Egghead, Trafalgar D. Water Law lost to Yonko, Marshal D. Teach on Winter Island. And at the same time as this confrontation was taking place, the pirate captain Eustace Kidd lost his battle against the Yonko Shanks. And finally, the invasion that's happening on Hachinosuai, otherwise known as Pirate Island. And this invasion is being led by Garp and other sword sailors, where they're invading just to be able to rescue Kobe, who had been previously captured by the Blackbeard pirates. Right now, we have two very big battles that are simultaneously taking place in One Piece. Battles that will be able to decide the fate of the story, and possibly cause some rather sizable changes to the plot. So let's talk about the possible events that could happen on Egghead Island. Let's start with the arrival of Kizaru and Saint J. Garcia Saturn, along with all the Marines that they brought with them coming to Egghead Island. And this is a major confrontation that looks like it was set up a long time ago. Something that could even lead to a very bad fate for the Straw Hats, or even for Vegapunk himself. These two powerful and extremely important characters are most likely going to arrive in the next chapter on Egghead Island, and they're going to kick off a large battle with the Straw Hats and Vegapunk, who have still been managing to survive all the attacks from the Seraphim that are running wild on the island. This attack of Kizaru and Saturn is likely to prevent the Straw Hats and the surviving Vegapunks from escaping Egghead, at least in any easy way. So Luffy and his companions are going to have to face the Marines so that Vegapunk can make his escape from the island safely. Kizaru is most likely going to target Luffy, the Yonko capable of defeating one of the most powerful Yonko that's ever lived. And of course, we're talking about Kaido. Now, Kizaru doesn't have any ill will or hatred or negative feelings towards Luffy. He just wants to take him out because he's following orders. So Kizaru is going to be the main obstacle that Luffy is going to have to overcome in order to escape the island alive. Now, we know that the Admiral is extremely powerful, and we've seen him demonstrate his skills multiple times against the worst generation pirates and even against a Yonko, and he's proved to be very skilled, smart, and quite strategic in his battles. We've got to imagine that his power level has to be very similar to that of Akainu, who of course is the most powerful and fleet admiral. However, although Kizaru is extremely strong, he hardly ever uses his full strength in battle. His uncertain justice just causes him to act in a somewhat carefree manner. Even if his mission is to defeat a Yonko, Kizaru's not going to go all out at the beginning of the fight. He's rather going to sit back and assess his opponent's power until something motivates him to fight more seriously. Something very rare to see, since so far, we really haven't seen Kizaru get angry about anything really. Even during the Battle of the Best in Marineford while fighting against Whitebeard, Kizaru fought him in a somewhat tongue-in-cheek kind of fashion, attacking him with a wry expression and not even bothering with the ancient Yonko's powerful attacks. In this fight, it's likely that we're gonna see Luffy have to resort to his Nika form in order to outwit Kizaru, and also use that same emotional aspect in this fight until the fight starts turning serious. Now, the outcome of this fight is still really uncertain, but as we saw with Law and Kid, it's quite likely that Luffy may not be able to obtain victory against that Admiral. Several other events are also currently happening in Egghead as well. At the moment, Luffy is fighting together with Lucci against S-Bear, causing his body to become exhausted because he's using a lot of energy and stamina to be able to take down the Seraphim as quickly as possible. And this Seraphim is no slouch, it's got some pretty substantial durability. So with Kizaru's arrival on Egghead, Luffy might be too exhausted to use his Gear 5th to confront him, which means that he's gonna start the fight at a disadvantage. As for Saturn, we're not really sure what his role is going to be in this great fight on Egghead. There's a pretty good possibility that he is going to be the one responsible for going after Vegapunk to end his life, as Kizaru previously asked if the Gorosei and the scientist had ever met, questioning whether they might have even been related or even friends. So that means while Luffy is fighting Kizaru, the Gorosei Saturn is going to be looking for Vegapunk to assassinate, and might possibly be stopped by Zoro or even Sanji, who might stop him from taking the scientist's life. Despite Zoro and Sanji being extremely strong and having gotten some power-ups during Wano, it's still even more likely that Saturn could be extremely powerful, even stronger than that of the Admirals. And even in an advanced age, he might possess a strength similar to that of an Admiral or possess some unknown powerful techniques. Because if you think about it, there's really no reason to bring a Gorosei to Egghead Island to participate in this battle if he wasn't strong enough to hold his own and take on a Yonko crew. So this means that we're going to get to see a great confrontation of Saturn against some of the Straw Hats, while looking for his true target, that of course is going to be the Stella or the real Vegapunk. So with the arrival of Saturn and Kizaru, this is going to mean that Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, and possibly even Stussy's clone are going to have to enter the fray with them in search of trying to distract them, while Vegapunk and the other Straw Hats come up with a way to escape from Egghead Island. And that is going to be no easy task, because with the arrival of the Navy, the entire island is going to be surrounded by high-ranking Marines, preventing anyone from ever entering or leaving. So at this point, it's going to be really difficult to know what is going to turn out in this great confrontation on Egghead, because it really is going to depend a lot on the direction of the story that Oda intends to take. In addition to the fact of these aforementioned dangers, there's also a Blackbeard ship approaching the same island. Teach is probably the one going to Egghead with his crew after he managed to defeat Law and his entire crew on Winter Island. And it's likely that Teach is going to the island to try and capture Vegapunk, or even steal the fruit's power from Luffy. This alone is gonna raise the stakes even higher for this great battle that's gonna happen on Egghead. And there might even be the possibility that Luffy ends up being defeated and captured by either the Marines, perhaps even Teach. Now, although things aren't going the way the Straw Hats or Vegapunk want, we've seen one other factor that may come in and add to their possibility of escaping, and that is the Big News airship, which is on its way to Egghead Island as well. And this opens up the possibility of escape that the Navy or Teach may not be able to stop, because the Straw Hats and Vegapunk could escape through the air. Big News Morgans wants to get information about what's going on Egghead Island to publish news in favor of the world government, distorting the real events just so he can gain credibility with the world government. Morgans is also well known for creating interesting news to attract more public attention, causing many more people to buy his newspapers and further increasing his credibility among the world's citizens, making him widely recognized as a very good journalist. However, Vivi is on that flying blimp, and she might be the one responsible for making Morgans take the Straw Hats and Vegapunk up and get them off of Egghead Island, thus securing their escape. If the airship arrives in time, this could give the Straw Hats the perfect opportunity to escape with it, because currently the Navy has surrounded the island, which means they are not going to be able to escape by sea. With the altitude of Punk Records and the height that the Straw Hats and Vegapunk could get to, this airship would make it possible for them to escape across the sky and keep them out of range of all the Navy ships, and it might even prohibit them from being able to follow them, which would avoid any danger that might come from a seaward escape. But this also leaves us with a big question: what's going to happen to the Thousand Sunny? Because this ship is just as much of a crewmate as anyone on the Straw Hat crew, so it's likely they're not just going to abandon the Sunny. They're going to have to find a way to take it along with them. But we also can't count out Vegapunk, because it's quite possible that he has some technological tool or technique that's going to allow them to shrink or even make the airship able to carry the large Sunny without any difficulty. But with all that said, we're going to see how this major conflict on Egghead Island is going to play out. We know that Luffy is going to have to use all of his strength and stamina to defeat these many powerful enemies that are on approach to the island, because they're there to take all the lives of the pirates and the scientists that are going against the laws of the world government. And this could end up being an even bigger battle than what we saw in Marineford, potentially one of the biggest battles in One Piece we've seen so far. And now, my friends, we'd love to know what you think about it. How do you think Luffy and company are gonna actually make it off the island? Is it going to be Big News Morgans and Vivi? Is it going to be Vegapunk coming in clutch, pulling out some kind of technology to warp them or fly them out? Or is it going to be just an out-and-out battle where they will fight their way out to sea and make their escape that way? Secondly, why do you think Teach is on his way to Egghead? Do you think it's because of Luffy, or perhaps something else that he knows about Vegapunk and some kind of technology he needs to get at? Or could it even be the fact that Robin's there, and if Pudding doesn't play out and can't read the poneglyphs, she's the only other person who can read and unlock the key to finding Laugh Tale. And lastly, what do you think Saturn's role is going to be? Do you think he's there just to boss the Seraphim around because the Gorosei have the highest level priority? Or do you, like some of us in the community, think that he is going to be a force to be reckoned with and an even scarier opponent than our Admiral Kizaru? Let us know what you think about that and everything else in the comments below. So as we wrap up our video for the day, we'd like to thank you all so much for watching the video, especially those of you who've made it here to the very end. Be sure you comment on any themes or ideas that you'd like to see in future videos. And also, since you made it this far, give us a like and hit that red subscribe button before you head out to take on the rest of your day. Hope to see you all in our next video. Let's keep sailing this giant sea together. Take care.